just need to bring back, I mean, I just am curious now. 40%
Right.
of your entire docket.
That's right.
Well, I don't know what your entire docket is, but I've been by your
It's
court.
about 2,000 cases.
I'm going to say it
both
seems to be a
criminal and
pretty
civil.
busy place.
About 2,000 cases for both myself and Judge Collier, maybe 2,400.
It's a phenomenal number.
Well, it's a big number, and it's forced us to do some things that we weren't doing before. For example, both myself and Judge Collier now have part-time law clerks whose job it is to do nothing but handle foreclosures. I have a law clerk whose job it is to track down the pleadings to make sure that everything in the file has been done appropriately before we sell a house. Because I do not hesitate and will not hesitate to order a house sold in foreclosure if that is the proper remedy. But I will not allow a house to be sold in foreclosure where the bank or the financial institution has not dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's and done everything it has to do before before that order of foreclosure goes on.
I see.
I had a I don't know if we have time here for a quick story,
we have time.
But I had a lawyer from Cincinnati one time, and there's a Cincinnati law firm that does there's a couple of them that do a lot of mortgage foreclosure actions across the entire state of Ohio. And I had a lawyer from one of these firms that was talking to my magistrate, Barb Porzio, who works with me and does non-jury matters. And I walked in, and I could tell she was frustrated. And I said to her, I said, put that person, I mouthed to her, put that person on speakerphone. And it concerned a foreclosure action. So she put it on speakerphone, and I said, I understand you're having some difficulty here with Ms. Porzio. What can I do for you? Well, Judge, I was just telling Magistrate Porzio that you're the only court that we deal with that requires us to do X. And I said, okay, are you telling me that we should not be requiring you to do X? Oh no, Judge, I'm not saying that you're not right. You are perfectly within your rights to ask us to do X. But you're the only judge that allows that makes us do X. And I said, why are you telling me this? Silence. Well, Judge, I just wanted you to know that you're the only court that makes us do X. And I said, here's what I think you're telling me. I said, I think you're telling me this in order to get me in the future not to make you do X. I said, but there is another alternative here. So he stops and he goes, what's that? And I said, don't file any more cases in my docket. Don't file any more cases in Medina County Common Pleas Court. I'll be glad to send you a list of 140 lawyers who'll be glad to file the actions for you, and I bet they're going to be willing to do what I want. And that was the end of the result was they do what I want, because if you're going to take somebody's house, if you're going to put a family on the street, then you should the court should make sure that before you do that, you have done everything that you're supposed to do from a legal standpoint.
You know, Judge, just from being the age of television, movies, and whatnot, I think everybody in America knows about Miranda warnings and the rights that we all have from the Constitution. And obviously you do a good deal of that kind of work in your court as well. But we're into an area here now that, you know, your point's well taken about your conversation with that lawyer of this is something new. I mean, foreclosures have never gone across, at least in my lifetime. I'm 60 years old.
Not since the 30s.
And I guess your point is very well taken as a bit of advice to the viewers. If this happens to you, you need to seek legal counsel. The problem with that, I mean, I'll throw it out as a problem, I'm sure you understand that, is if a person can't afford to make his house payment, I don't know if he could afford a lawyer.
Well, that's a good question, but that is a good question, and the ability of people to get legal aid type assistance is not very great. But I will say, I would leave you, or I guess I would say this: it may be expensive to hire the lawyer, but it may be really expensive not to hire the lawyer.
Yeah.
If you want to stay in the house.
I see what you're saying.
Now, if you don't want to stay in the house, that's another matter altogether. And there's a lot of people who don't really care if they stay in the house. Excuse me, especially if the foreclosure action is brought because there's been a divorce, for example.
Sure,
and the
I
house
understand.
is, the house is a matter of debate between the husband and the wife, matter of disagreement. But I would think, this is what I would think. I would think that first of all, a lot of people might be surprised at how much it won't cost them to see a lawyer. And I think they might also be surprised at what the lawyer could do for them. Because I think that, as I said before, these banks, to be fair to the banking institutions, they're caught between federal and state regulators and their customers. And here's what I mean by that. Commissioner Geisman, Diana County Commissioner Geisman has a task force that's meeting to discuss what to do about foreclosures. And I attended some of those meetings, and there have been representatives of banks there, locally owned banks, who said that, you know, when federal regulators come in, they don't want to see a bunch of real estate on the books, because the federal regulators are concerned that the bank is solvent. What that means is that people come in and want their money, can get it out of the bank.
Sure.
So they don't want a lot of real estate assets that aren't producing revenue.
I see.
And so therefore, if they have a lot of foreclosure, a lot of property that's not producing revenue, and they're not taking action against that property, the bank regulators don't like it. So that's another reason why, however, you should stay in touch with the bank, because you want to put the banker in the position of saying to the regulator, you know, if the regulator says, hey, how come you're not doing something about Joe Smith's property here? You want the bank official to say, well, we are. We filed a foreclosure action. Joe Smith filed an answer. We're in mediation right now in front of Judge Kimbler and Judge Collier. We're going to work out a payment plan, and we hope to have that money coming in the near future.
I see. Well, Judge, we're getting towards the end here, but there's just a couple things that you've really caused me to think about, and maybe many of our viewers. Obviously, these numbers are, well, they're much worse than I thought they were.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 40% of your docket. I know from common acquaintances, Judge Routson down in Hancock County, I know you two teach together, and you network with the judicial community. Are you picking up the same vibes on this same issue from your colleagues all over the state?
Oh yeah, but in some counties it's a lot worse.
Really?
For example, there is a legal newspaper that comes out every day in Cuyahoga County called the Daily Legal News.
Yeah.
It's the official newspaper, so
I've
to
seen
speak. Okay, they're now 138 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Almost every week of foreclosure sales. 138 pages. Once a week, it's about 138 pages.
Well, Judge, I knew this would be an interesting session with you, because it's always an interesting session talking with you. But I got to tell you, I mean, this time I'm even somewhat taken back here. I'd like to, I think we could talk about this for a long time. Could we get you to come back sometime and maybe talk about this a little bit more? Because
be glad to, John.
With the things that we're hearing now at the national level, and the change of the president, and a whole lot of things going on, possible recession, there may be more to this story, and so I appreciate your opportunity. Well, Judge, I'd like to thank you for being our guest on Law Talk today. To actually see Judge Kimbler's courtroom and the episode of Law Talk, you can go to www.CZ-CLEP.org. We call that CZ-CLEP. I am John Celebrezze, and on behalf of CZ-CLEP, I thank you for tuning in to Law Talk.
At CZ-CLEP, we're devoted to the education of today's legal issues. Fueled by the public's keen interest in our legal system and current events, CZ-CLEP is dedicated to the educational venues aimed at enhancing the understanding by all citizens, regardless of age, education, occupation, or wealth.
I'm John Celebrezze. Please join me in getting a better understanding of the law.